Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, April 17, 2018. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. The correlation of an insect and the lessons to be learned with regards to its movement and economic development was the focus at a lecture hosted here last evening at the Methodist Church Hall. The lecture was hosted by the Department of Economics of the University of the West Indies, K-Vale campus, in conjunction with the Canadian Commission under the theme Flight of the Bumblebee, the turning point for a delicate economy. One of the three panelists, Vincentian Laura Anthony Brown from the Ministry of Economic Planning, highlighted the importance of being flexible just as the wings of the bumblebee emits resistance from the wind.
About the flexibility of the bumblebee and thinking about the things that we have had to do in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and see how things are done, then we understand that flexibility is in fact quite interesting and useful in terms of being able to adapt. Important too, considering the historical context out of which we are coming, context of colonization and slavery and monotype economy, monocrop or monosector. And so we are more or less honed into thinking we can do one thing well or one thing at a time. So we are sugar plantations, or we are growing arrowroot, or we are growing, so we have that kind of a context. So the ability to have some levels of diversification, as my colleagues are saying, it's critical to help us to pivot out of crises as they will continue to happen.
Another panelist, Chanel Thompson of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, said it would be catastrophic if there is another global economic downturn and the focus is on one specific sector.
If you have a rigid type economy, if you have an economy that is simply focused on a specific sector, agriculture or tourism, when a global shock happens, or when a common shock happens in the case of the ECCU economies, the ability of the economy to actually turn to an alternate sector to continue production, to generate output, is lessened. So essentially the economy is sort of trapped within, say, the tourism sector, and it will receive the full brunt of whatever the impact on tourism is occurring. When you have economies that are more diversified, so the base of the economy is more diversified, not all the energies are being expended in tourism, not all the energies are being expended in agriculture, then when a common shock occurs, or when an exogenous shock rather occurs, the economy is then able to pivot easily to another sector.
Representative of the Caribbean Development Bank, Ronald James, expressed the view that diversification will be more beneficial to small economies like that of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
If you have an economy that is concentrated in one specific area, then that economy is fairly vulnerable and very exposed, as a matter of fact. The event that there's a shock, exogenous or otherwise, it undermines that particular sector, and it creates problems in all areas of the economy, because that is perhaps the single income earning is responsible for creating the gross domestic product. And once that happens, once that particular sector, that is where the export is concentrated, is compromised, then that filters through the entire economy.
Information Communication Technology, ICT, has been recognized as a catalyst that can propel the development of SVG, and as such the development of an ICT supplier register is a necessary step for the country. This from Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Stanley Peters-Phillips, at a conference hosted earlier today by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs discussing the development of an ICT services register for SVG. Peters-Phillips said the ministry recognizes the importance of ICT to trade and economic development and considered the registry an important tool allowing policymakers to make sound decisions.
The development of ICT Services Suppliers Registry in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is a joint initiative by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Commerce under its Hubs and Spokes program, the SVG Coalition Services and the SVG Chamber of Industry and Commerce. The Caribbean Export Agency, CIDA, shares a similar vision for the services sector. CIDA intends to do a pilot exercise for the development of Services Suppliers Registry. The countries initially identified by CIDA includes Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados and St. Lucia. The ministry indicated to CIDA that SVG's preparation on the same were in advanced stages. On that basis of the SVG's interest in the Services Registry, CIDA indicated that they will include SVG in the project. The ministry has already sent correspondence indicating their interest to partner with CIDA on this exercise.
Peters Phillips said local and regional stakeholders have all shared a unified interest in the creation of the register.
Existing information on private sector's operators in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, its ICT sector, is limited and not readily accessible by business and policy makers. This presents a challenge for effective policy decisions. A lack of data on how companies operate in the digital economy prevents many developing countries from preparing for a new economic era. Sound policy can be made without relevant information, and according to UNTAD statistics, only 4% of the world's least developed countries have provided sustainable data on how businesses use information communications technologies compared to 85% of developing countries. Such data inform governments about the extent to which businesses of different sizes and in different industries are using various technologies to boost productivity.
Also addressing the conference was Roxanne John, a representative of the Ministry of Finance, who said the government has been implementing a comprehensive development program to improve the skill set of Vincentians and improve business opportunities. She said an ICT register is a positive step towards this thrust.
To start their own businesses in one way or the other. And this way we have seen that will have contributed to the growth of businesses, ICT business in St. Vincent. So with all this growth in ICT business, we definitely will appreciate the need for a national suppliers register that will provide an indication of a range of services that is being offered in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and by extension regionally and internationally. Because when we're talking about ICT, we can't talk nationally only. It's a global phenomenon. We have to prepare for the global market and to have a database that is readily available, a person can tap into anywhere in the world and can able to utilize our services will be welcomed.
With SVG being ranked second for the highest penetration of credit unions in the world, Minister with responsibility for cooperatives Frederick Stevenson has applauded the contribution of the local credit union movement towards national development. Speaking at the opening of the Kingston Cooperative Credit Union's KCCU Mariacourt branch office last Friday, Minister Stevenson said the 4 main credit unions here in SVG have and continue to support their members and congratulated the KCCU on the opening of its new office and its achievements over its 60 years of service.
University scholarships, bursaries, supporting housing, supporting purchasing a vehicle, supporting purchasing lands. These are all the things that the credit union do to complement the work of government. And the savings in the credit union movement is quite significant. The Kingston Credit Union, they have nearly half of the population of persons in the credit union movement. And they have been doing a wonderful job over the many years.
President of the KCCU, Cynthia Hope Brown, said the new Mariquo branch came through from a very challenging merger with the former Mariquo Cooperative Credit Union Limited, the MCCU.
MCCU began to move along a terrible trajectory. Its liabilities started to grow at a faster pace than its assets. And by 2014, there was a deficit in equity of $1.7 million, comprising assets of $3.2 million and liabilities of $4.9 million. KCCU made a heroic sacrifice to accept the absorption of the $1.7 million deficit in equity. We thank our members for their gigantic support and their continued confidence and trust in the board and management of KCCU. These achievements are testimonies of the solidifying trust and loyalty placed in the institution by the members and the Vincentian public at large.
Thanking the credit union movement, members and the overall Vincentian public for their continued support, Hope Brown said her organization remains committed to offering quality services and products to the people of Mariquo and the entire Vincentian society.
Expanding our branch network into the lush and pristine Mariquo Valley presented the opportunity for KCCU to open up access to its modern, technology-driven, member-centered financial services to a large number of individuals and businesses, including small and medium-scale enterprises, and indeed the vibrant agriculture sector.
Area Representative Sinclair Jimmy Prince also extended congratulations to the KCCU, noting that he expects to see even greater achievements through the new office branch.
Mariquo has been a natural wellspring of cooperation and self-reliance. Our geography and family history has engendered a kind of clannishness which has served us very well. These characteristics, our natural inclination to cooperate, and our industrious collective self pushed us to establish our own Mariquo Credit Union here in 1953. We look forward to the continuation of services to which we have grown accustomed, and indeed additional services which the amalgamation would provide. You have a local dedicated staff who know the people intimately, and this augurs well for future relationships. I expect that in the next few years, the Mariquo branch would move from strength to strength and will continue to uplift the spirit of the people of Mariquo as we move on through the years.
A two-day national conversation on crime and violence will commence here tomorrow at 9 o'clock at the Methodist Church Hall. The discussion is spearheaded by the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Christian Council in collaboration with civil society organizations, the churches, and several government agencies. The theme that will guide the conversation is building a culture of peace in our communities and our nation. Professor Anthony Harriott of the Institute of Criminal Justice and Security at the University of the West Indies Mona Campus, Jamaica, will deliver the keynote address, while Ingrid Omard, Community Development Consultant, will facilitate the two-day conversation. Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves and Leader of the Opposition Dr. Godwin Friday will both address the opening ceremony. Participants will be drawn from churches, schools, the NGO community, political parties, and government agencies. Police here are investigating a report of the sudden death of Jabez Hazel, a one-year-old child of Paget Farm, Beckway, on Saturday, April 14th. According to the police, the information they received is that Natisha Hazel, a 14-year-old student of Beckway and the mother of Jabez Hazel, was at her stepfather's residence in Spring, Beckway, when she lost sight of the child, who was later found unresponsive in the pool. The child was rushed to the Port Elizabeth Health Center, where she was pronounced dead. The police say investigations are being conducted in the matter and that a post-mortem is to be carried out on the body to determine the cause of death. Director of the George Allen Chronic Disease Research Center of the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill campus, Dr. Alifa Samuels, says the marketing of healthy foods is of critical importance in the fight against non-communicable diseases. Speaking here recently on projects aimed at tackling non-communicable diseases and food security in the region, Dr. Samuels said that many companies use marketing tools to sell unhealthy food, and as such, healthy food must also be properly marketed in creating awareness on foods which are both healthy and delicious.
For our children. So maybe the health and education really need to sit together and come up with some joint projects or some joint aims and objectives and proposals as to how we can do good for the education of the child in the school, but also for the diet of the child in the school. And then we have to find out from the children what it is that they like to eat that is healthy. Because, you know, you can't just boil a piece of cabbage and give to somebody and say, eat it. Nobody is going to eat that. But a lot of the, we can learn from some of the marketing companies that market the unhealthy foods. And these are some of the things that I'm saying that we need to really get into the how and the why. A lot of these companies do a lot of market research. We need to do that for healthy foods too, because there are delicious healthy foods out there, but we need to present it and promote it and see what people like and then try and, you know, encourage and work with that. Yeah.
Dr. Samuels also called on the relevant authorities here to ensure that the Zero Hunger Project delivers healthy and nutritious foods.
The FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, is also a partner with our project. So we expect to pull all of these things together. But as I mentioned at the workshop in Jamaica, I have a concern about the Zero Hunger Project, in that we need to make sure that when we are trying to make sure nobody is hungry and we are giving them you know, nutritious, that we in fact give them nutritious, healthy foods. Because a lot of people think that, you know, my child is hungry, but the way that I would like the child not to be hungry is to give them French fries. And we don't want that.
With activities for rural carnivals already in progress, Coordinator Ezzy Roberts said the activities will pave the way for the official 10 Days of Vinci Mass 2018.
I must say that over the years we have had between 50 to 60 events being staged, organized by 8 rural carnivals. This year will be no different. In some areas, the structure of the committees include persons who are stronger, have more organizational capacity than others. At some points, we get the comments that some of the rural activities is standard, they are higher in some areas than others. That is a fact, and that is something that we are working on to bring the rural committees all up to the same level. The climax of the first rural carnival will be on 19th May, when Central Leeward Carnival will be having their Juve and street jump up. This will be followed by South Leeward the following weekend, and every weekend thereafter there will be rural carnival activities taking place throughout St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Roberts further emphasized the need for persons to support the rural carnival events, particularly in the Grenadines.
Carnival will again be hosting the final events for Vinci Mass overall, and that's the final rural carnival in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Their activities include, once more, the ever-popular Miss Rural SVG pageant. And they have a number of events, some new initiatives for this year, that they really want to see persons from the mainland and people from wherever come to Canawan to witness and enjoy those activities. Multi-island state, we have 2 carnivals in the Grenadines, one in Bequia and one in Canawan. And I would really like to see us get to the stage where we have persons coming together, planning to go for the weekend, not just to enjoy the carnival activities, but to enjoy some of the sceneries, the beaches and so on in the Grenadines. We have seen within recent times a number of persons coming from overseas and getting to enjoy these locations while we on the mainland are failing to do so. So I would like to have the rural carnivals in the Grenadines as another opportunity where you can go down to the Grenadines and enjoy.